Hello everyone, my name is Peanut and welcome to the Real Gaming Shack YouTube channel and Twitch stream. So today this is going to be the first episode of a series I'm going to start called the Technical series, and in this series I'm going to try to focus on setting up regiments for your aim practice. More technical aspects, try to break down aim for you to better understand it. Similar to how 3K Phillips does it. I really like his videos, he's very technical, and I'm trying to follow the same suit and try to break down certain aspects to be a little bit more simpler, to try to cover common mistakes that people do in aspects of aim and the game. So I will, feel free to leave some comments on what topics you'd like me to cover, what topics you want me to break down, and I would definitely enjoy making some videos for you guys. All right, so on to today. We are going to be obviously covering recoil. As you can see, I am in the Recoil Master map. You can find this map in the workshop. It's pretty popular nowadays. So I definitely recommend you download it, and for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to be using it. I love to use this map to practice my recoil personally. It's a very good map. It has a lot of useful features that you might not find just practicing in your own server. So I'm just going to cover the basics of spraying really quickly, just so we're on the same page. I'm sure most of you know this, but here's a spray close up. And here's one from mid distance. And here's one from a little bit farther away. And the main things you'll notice as you increase your distance, the spread... What happened to my pistol? Can't go wrong with some dualies. The spread between the bullets will be slightly bigger. So in my first spray, that was pretty close. You'll see the spread between each bullet is not as big. And as the distance increases, you'll see jumps in between each bullets, and then as you get really, far away, the spread will be kind of crazy. And that's just to keep in mind as you're practicing this, as you increase your distance, that this will happen naturally, and you will have more RNG and spread between your bullets. So I just wanted to cover the differences between the M4s and the AK really quick. So the AK, let's see, I guess I'd take it off the wall. So this map is great because it'll actually show you the spray pattern for each weapon. Throw in a T target here and increase our distance a little bit. So you'll see that the AK has this kind of like down, left, right, left recoil control, and this is pretty similar in most weapons. So I'll just switch to the M4s. So the A4, very similar, down, left, right, and then the A1, down, left. This one doesn't go right at all. And really the main difference between the AK and the M4s is, if you notice with the AK, when you pull down, it starts going just a bit to the right. It doesn't exaggerate to the right as much as the M4s. So if I take the A4, you can see once we start coming down to the lower bullet marks, it'll pull a lot harder to the right before it goes to the left. And that's something to really keep in mind when you're practicing the M4s versus the AKs. I personally like to practice one gun a day. I won't focus on the M4 and then switch to the AK like halfway through. I think it throws off personally the spray pattern that I'm trying to practice, especially when you're first starting off, and you really want to drill it into your muscle memory, into your head, how unique each spray pattern is. You definitely want to focus on one gun at a time, and this is definitely something to keep in mind between the differences between the AK and the M4. And talking about common mistakes, especially for a person starting out spray controlling, I feel like, especially myself, and I feel like a lot of other players, they do default to a more AK style spray once they start using the M4. Like they'll play T side, they've been using the AK for 15 rounds, they'll go to the M4 and they'll kind of default to this pull down left right approach to the M4 when that's not exactly how the spray pattern works with the M4s. So that is a common mistake that I feel a lot of people make. Just keep that in mind when you're switching between guns, that the spray pattern is different, and it's not just down, left, right for every single gun, which is what I think most people use in terms of spraying. Another common mistake is, if you notice, where this does not go straight down. This goes kind of slanted and then to the right. I feel like a lot of people just start pulling straight down when they start practicing spray control. That's not correct. I mean, the first 4 or 5 bullets will go straight down. You'll start pulling straight down. Let me just switch the AK. Especially with the AK, it doesn't have an exaggerated pull to the right. You do start pulling straight down for a little while, but then it starts to tilt a little bit more to the right. It's not straight down and then left, right. It's not as linear. So that's another common mistake that I think a lot of people make, is they will start pulling straight down right away, and they don't realize that the spray pattern does start to tilt to the right. And that's something to definitely practice. That's something to hone in when you are practicing your spray control, is that, you know, start tilting your mouse a little bit more to the right when you start controlling your spray, and you'll see the first 7, 8, 9, 10 bullets will be a little bit more accurate compared to what they were before. All right, so and then the last common mistake that I wanted to talk about is not pulling down hard enough based on distance. You saw, you know, it's my spray here, and then my spray here. You'll notice that, you know, like I said, because of the distance, you're going to have to exaggerate your movements, and I think a lot of people don't pull down hard enough based on distance. Like, they'll pull down the same amount for each distance that they're at. So let's say they're at long A. If the guy's like on the corner of long A, they'll pull down, you know, a bit. And then if the guy's like all the way on cat or A site, they'll pull down just as much. And they'll be like, how the fuck did I miss that? Like, my crosshair was on his head. I don't know what's going on. This guy's hacking. I don't know. All your common excuses. It's probably because you didn't pull down hard enough because of the distance, and you probably shouldn't be spraying at certain distances as well. You know, back here, you're gonna have a hard time spraying from all the way over here. This is your one tap burst kind of range, so definitely keep that in mind. As distance increases, you will exaggerate these movements. You will have to pull down harder and to the right, to the left, for each distance as it gets greater. So when you start practicing your spray, these are some things that I like to focus on personally. So if you start spraying, so one of the things that I love to focus on is making sure you have very little spread. As you can notice with this spray, specifically for this spray, I have a lot of bullets that aren't centered around this area. Some of those are probably RNG bullets that go to, you know, just fly over to the random spots. But if you see like these groupings outside of your main shot zone, you know, you have to make sure that most of your shots are in this area. If you have a couple bullets like here and there, that's fine. But most of your bullets should be in this area. You shouldn't have this grouping over here. This random bullet's fine, but just focus on that. Make sure your spread is very small. So that kind of grouping is preferred to like something like this. That one kind of was, it's a little bit harder for me to mess up my spray, but you can see that this grouping is a bit tighter than here. This is kind of just all over the place. So you really want to have like this circular, squarish, or I don't even know. That's not really a shape, but you definitely want to focus on the area. Make sure it's not all over the place when you do practice spray control. And I'll cover it a little bit more when I talk about the regimen that we're going to use and how to spot those mistakes and how to compensate for each a little bit later in the video. But that is something to really focus on. Another thing is you want to focus on consistency when you're spraying. You don't want to have one spray that's like this, and then another one that's like... my alarm went off. Sorry about that. So as you can tell, this one is a little bit more consistent than this one, and you want to aim for like a small grouping each time. You don't want to start off a spray with a small grouping and then go to the next spray and have like your bullets all over the place. Like, you want to have a consistent small spread, and consistency will obviously come in time. And we'll talk about more on how to catch your habits and control your spray a little bit better so you have more consistency. But it's something to definitely have in the back of your head to always aim for a consistent spread and a small grouping for your spray. You don't want it to vary each time that you spray, because that's just not, you're going to be spraying one time and have sick 3K transfers, and another time you're just going to be like whiffing, all your bullets. So consistency will come in time, but definitely have it in the back of your mind as you practice spray control. And then the next thing I want to touch on is your habits. And again, these will come, you'll notice how to practice these later on in the video when we talk about the regimen. But you want to notice like your habits that you have. So I messed up my spray there on purpose just to show you. But as I spray, you'll notice that like each time you spray, you may have like a consistent grouping on the left and the right. And that's going to be because you're not pulling harder to the right, or you're not pulling as hard to the left. And these are the habits that you really want to hone in on and focus on fixing. So if you see that you're always pulling, your bullets are always going to the left, you want to start pulling a little bit harder to the right. And as time progresses and you start doing it more and more, you will become more consistent, and you will notice that you have less of a spread, and your habits will slowly start to disappear as you get more consistent. So that's just another thing to keep in mind as something to focus on. All these kind of lead to consistent spray, and that's kind of like the end goal for you to have the perfect spray at the end of this training. Or not at the end of this training, but over time. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the regimen that I like to do when I practice spray control. Like I said, you want to use one gun for each time you practice. You don't want to be, I personally don't like switching between M4 and AK. If you prefer to do that, that's fine. Just realize you're kind of throwing yourself off, because you're going to be practicing one spray pattern and then going to another one, and you may not get as consistent that quick with each gun compared to if you focus. It's kind of like if you were playing like basketball and you're practicing 2-pointers for the whole day, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go practice 3-pointers, and so like you're not getting a consistent practice on this one little thing that you're trying to accomplish. You're kind of just switching and going off to do something different, and it may throw off your consistency as time goes on. You'll still get good, but it just won't be as fast because you're practicing like multiple things. So I personally, and this is going to play into a couple points I mentioned earlier, I personally love to start off close. So I kind of make 3 markers for myself. One marker is here, another marker is around here, or like in front of this box, and the third one is back here. And these are the 3 distances that we're going to practice. I personally practice. You can change them up. I don't like to go all the way back here because you really shouldn't be spraying from this distance. If you want to spray from that distance, feel free to. Just realize that RNG and spread is going to be really high as you increase your distance back here, and it's not going to be as consistent. It's a lot easier to be consistent at closer ranges. And if you can perfect close range sprays, you'll be golden, because you're not going to be, unless, you shouldn't be spraying at long distances. So if you can perfect the scenarios where you're going to be using spray control the most, you're going to get a lot better as a player. So I'll start off in the middle, and I'll try to aim for 80+% hit rate, and I'll do at least 10 sprays with 80% hit rate. So right there I got 93. That's great. I'm actually going to turn these tracers off because they are a little annoying. Let's do that one more time. And you're probably asking yourself, like, what is the point of, practicing so close? And I'll try to show you here. So I messed up my spray there on purpose to show you the reason for why I like to practice close range. And when you first start spray controlling, you'll actually notice this. You'll start, as I said before, you'll start noticing your habits and the way that your spray control is messing up. If you're pulling too hard to the left, if you're pulling too hard to the right. Like in this spray, I didn't compensate enough on the left, and my next spray, that's something I want to focus on. So playing close up will really show you your habits that you have with control, especially from close distances. And if you can perfect a close distance spray, as the distance increases, as you get back here, you'll have an easier time controlling your spray without having those habits of pulling a little bit hard to the right, a little to the right, a lot to the right, a little to the left, stuff like that. Not enough down. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like I said, it's one of those things where you want to get rid of those habits of messing up, those 3-4 bullets that are going to the left, or those 3-4 bullets that are going to the right. And I feel like playing close up, you'll really get to see how your spray is messing up and what kind of habits you have with your spray. So like I said, we'll do 10 here, 80+% hit rate, and then I'll go out to the sides because most of the time, your engagements will be at angles. So I really prefer to practice at an angle. It'll also your spray won't be, so you'll practice here and it's straight down, but here it's a little bit to the right because the target is more angled. And you want to, this is a good spray because there's a consistent bullets in the middle of my target. These two random bullets, not sure where those came from, either RNG or very small minor mistakes in my spray. But this is kind of the consistency that you want to aim for. Most of your bullets are in this area that you're aiming. So you want to do 10 there, 10 there, 10 there, and then you want to come back to our second marker, which is around here. You want to do 10 here, 10 here, 10 here, and if you are getting less than 80%, just keep doing it until you get that 80% 10 times. And then your last distance will be back here. Just use these lines as guidance. If you want to come out all the way here, feel free to. If you want to come out here, somewhere against this wall, feel free to. I personally don't like crouching when I do this drill because I really just want to, I know a lot of people have this habit of crouching when they spray, which is fine. But personally for me, I like to be standing. I don't want that assisted accuracy bonus when I crouch. I encourage crouching when you are spraying, and in certain situations it will help, especially at longer distances like back here. It's preferred that you crouch when you spray, but you shouldn't. If you can perfect the spray standing, you shouldn't have a hard time controlling it when you're crouching because you will have that accuracy bonus. So feel free to crouch, but I personally don't recommend it. So that's my regimen. Hopefully it helps. I hope you guys try it. Let me know if it works for you. God, this alarm. Let me know if it works for you. If it doesn't, I'm really sorry, but this is something that personally helped me. So feel free to try it. Leave some comments after you tried it. See after a few days, after a few weeks, if you're starting to get better at spray control. Obviously, with any practice, you'll get better over time. Hopefully this will allow you to hone in on some of your habits that you have when you spray. And after you're done with this map, I recommend you do this every day, by the way. This isn't one-time thing. It's, you know, as you probably know, Counter-Strike's one of those things where you need to practice and put in a lot of effort and time. So the more you do this, the better you will eventually get at spray control. And after you do this, I recommend you hop into a DM server and practice specifically spraying. You don't want to be doing one-tap bursts, unless it's long distance, feel free to do that. But you definitely want to hone in on, like, you just practice this, then you're kind of in this mood, you've practiced all this spraying, you want to go into DM server, and now with realistic targets that are moving, you want to spray. I'm also going to leave some videos that I find helpful in the description below. One of them is from Nothing. He rants about like spray control and this kind of like imaginary line that you can create when you're trying to shoot down a moving target. And another one is from Freiberg from NIP, and he also talks about spray control. You guys can definitely look at their opinions on spray control and how to practice it. I personally really love this map, and I think it's really useful. And I'm glad we have these kind of maps now to help perfect our aim and whatnot. And remember, you're not going to get this stuff in one day. You're not going to practice this, go into a match, and have perfect spray control. This is one of those things where you need to practice it consistently, you know, knock off those small habits that you have. And I feel like spraying was one of those things. It is situational, but it's also about, like, feeling. Like, as you're spraying, you will kind of be able to adjust on the fly. But if you can get, like, the fundamental pattern down, you'll have a lot easier time adjusting when it comes down to spraying. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, let me know how you feel about this regimen, if it helps you, if it doesn't. You know, come back in a month or so if you don't forget about me, and let me know if it helped. And thanks for watching the video, guys. I appreciate you guys taking the time to hear my thoughts, and have a great day.